this time on Disaster Empire Quick Views is Jeff Dow. Thank you again for joining us, and for our audience, please remember to like and subscribe to help out the channel. Before we get started, Jeff, I want to give you a chance to share your background for those who are unfamiliar with you. Can you share a little bit about your bio and how you got into the field?
So I spent about the first half of my career in the Coast Guard, and I was very fortunate. I was able to serve on 4 ships, and I did a couple of short tours. I bounced around a little bit after my service career, and I ended up in Iowa in 2010 to help a friend and a person I knew from the Coast Guard in a business, and ended up staying here when I got married. In 2013, I moved to the company that I work for now. It's an insurance company in our new business area, so we're bringing policies onto the system. And in 2018, I joined the Business Resiliency Program. And then just last year, our boss, our supervisor, created a manager role to manage both the business resiliency and the safety and security programs. And we worked with the safety and security programs, but we've made a concerted effort in the last 6, 7, 8 months to really merge the teams where we can and help each other out. So it's probably almost 5 years in the business resiliency field or so.
All right. Anything else that you want to share with the audience before we jump in?
Yeah, I am not from Iowa. I originally grew up in New England and New Hampshire, and I spent several of my tours in the Coast Guard in New Hampshire. And therefore, I am a pretty rabid New England sports fan, the Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins. My wife grew up in Iowa, and that doesn't stand well. She's not an Iowa. She's not, a fan of any of my teams. However, I am now a huge Iowa football fan, so we both get to yell at the screens on Saturdays, which I'm sure I'll do tomorrow.
That's awesome. And from a fellow New Englander, I get you. Well, hey, tell me about your Coast Guard experience, and how do you feel that foundation helped you when you did get into resiliency?
Yeah. I think that there's 3 broad areas, I think that, and it's probably anyone in any of the military branches would relate to. So the first thing, policies, procedures, standards, that's the backbone of, how you do things every day. And to me, having that grounding, whether it's safety and security op plans or business resiliency plans, conducting BIAs, that process, the content is different, but the process is similar, not the same, but similar. Also, certainly when I was on my afloat career, the ability to do risk assessments, whether that is before you're doing an evolution or even during an evolution. So the before is that planning piece. It's you have a little bit more time, but certainly during an event, you may have to change things quickly. And that's a little bit of what I think you do in the business resiliency crisis management field. And then certainly decision making. I found that one of my pet peeves is the inability to make a decision. I would rather have, let's make a decision. If we're wrong, we can go back and correct it, right? Yeah. But I think indecision really is it's difficult for a team to manage through. And if I can quote from, it's Band of Brothers. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it, either read the book or watched the HBO show. On HBO, there was a scene towards the end of the series where one of the sergeants said he wasn't a bad leader because he made bad decisions. He was a bad leader because he made no decisions. And that has resonated with me even before then. So that decision-making ability, again, I think anyone in the military or the police department or first responders would probably recognize those 3 characters.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I think it's such an under-taught skill on the private side, is that challenge that's really learning how to make decisions without all of the good information or all of the information in front of you, because we recognize from our experience that you're not going to have all the information in the moment, and that you have to have that ability to be confident and comfortable in making decisions with what you do have at the time. So thank you so much for highlighting that. It's really so important and very undervalued. Well, hey, how do you define resilience? Because it's definitely, obviously I'm talking about it. It's a buzzword out there, but for many groups, it's becoming a reality. And then I'm noticing that that's how you're styling the program where you work today. Can you tell me a little bit about how you feel about it?
Sure. So probably the way to frame it is through the team's mission. This isn't official. This is just the 4 team members that we have. But when we're doing our job, what I want us to be able to do is we want to keep our people safe, keep our site secure, and keep our business operations functioning during and after a disruptive event. To me, that's our watchword. And for me, it's what do we do as a program to position the company before that disruptive event. So in my mind, resiliency is, in our company, we have the business resiliency program, and that's sort of an umbrella. So we've got business continuity, which is where I started at CUNA Mutual. We call it business resiliency, but it's really a business continuity. And then it's emergency management, and that is the safety and security side of the fence, if you were. And also crisis management. So the BR program, we directly manage business continuity and crisis management. And now that we're a combined team, we also work hand in glove with emergency management. So think of if, heaven forbid, we have had a fire at one of our sites. That starts out as a safety and security emergency management. Obviously, quickly would turn into crisis management, making sure that the building is evacuated, firefighters are on scene, and clearly a business resiliency event, even after COVID, we'd have to get together with business resiliency. And then obviously, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this, most people have some form of relationship with InfoSec and disaster recovery. We do too. So it's sort of that umbrella, and it's, to me, business resiliency allows more flexibility. If you're kind of that decision making, if you're going down a path and it's not working, that's okay, as long as you take those lessons and you shift to something that is working. And to me, that's where resiliency is. It's that ability to keep going, but it's also that ability to shift midstream when you need to.
So I think we have some very similar thoughts on leadership. Can you describe your approach and what's most important for you?
Sure. So this is a question I could go on for an entire podcast.
I'll have you back.
Excellent. I do that. So leadership is important to me. I have a lot of experience just in the service. I went to grad school to get a degree in leadership studies. Had an opportunity when I was in the service. I trained at our Leadership Institute. So it's an important component, and it really it crosses every single discipline. It's not just crisis management or leadership or just being in a leader position. So during COVID, I had the opportunity to sit with the crisis team. So our crisis team, again, like probably a lot of our peers, it's at that executive level, and my partner and I, we're the support for that. We're there to make sure things are moving in the right direction. They've had training, they've got plans, things of that nature. But we got to see how that worked. And I wrote down I took a lot of notes during that. I posted some things on LinkedIn, and I really boiled it down to 3 broad areas that our crisis team I thought did very well in terms of leadership. And the first one, it goes back to what we talked about a few minutes ago. The ability to make timely, informed decisions, sometimes without all the information. And that is a critical skill in leadership. It's certainly a critical skill in crisis management. So, the team, when COVID hit, the crisis team said, we have to move people out of the building. And they made that decision before really fleshing that out with a lot of people. They said, this is what we have to do, and then we're going to figure out how to do it. And it was impressive to see them working through that. So another one, which was absolutely crucial, and again, this is not rocket science. I'm sure anyone watching this would agree. Timely and clear communications in any crisis, in any sort, whether you're assigning work to a team that is processing new business, or you have to make sure that the entire enterprise understands what the direction will be while we're in this, at the time, flatten the curve. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks, and now it's been 2.5 years. I think it has to be succinct and direct. So especially during the crisis, you don't need to make a flowery announcement. Just tell the people what they need and how they can act on it. I think that is the most important thing. And the crisis team worked very closely with our corporate communications. They were there from day one, and I thought that went very well. And then another piece, again, this is, in my mind, leadership 101, the willingness and also the ability to trust and delegate. That is crucial. The crisis team could not do everything by themselves. In fact, as COVID continued on, the 2 weeks, which are 3 weeks,
right.
Then it turned into
over
we'll
2 years.
We'll see in May and 2021 and 2022. So I think the ability to do that is underrated. It requires the leader to have an understanding of what the capabilities are and abilities of the people that they're working with. It is a valuable skill. I learned early in my career that this was, trusting and delegating is so crucial. Mm. When I was in the service, I was very fortunate. I was the captain, a commanding officer of 2 Coast Guard cutters. And the first time I went to a cutter, the Coast Guard sends all of their prospective commanding officers, executive officers to a school. And the one of the instructors there, and I don't remember the class, but you can imagine 15 or 16 people, all going to be commanding officers, executive officers, very that type A personality.
Yeah.
The instructor asked, does the commanding officer have to be the best ship driver on the ship? And most people are like, oh yeah, I'm the best. It's absolutely. And I watched the instructor talk and listen, and this has stuck with me. He said, the CO doesn't have to be the best ship driver. The CO has to know who the best ship driver is. Mm. And to me, that sums up delegation, right? I can't do everything, especially now. And I know we may talk about it in a minute with the safety and security. It's the first time I've really done that. I did some law enforcement when I was in the service. I have some high understandings how to secure a vessel, but I need those 2 guys on the safety and security team. I can't do that. Likewise, my partner in BR has been with CUNA Mutual BR since it almost started. Mm. I still need him. So I think that willingness to trust and delegate, and I saw the crisis team leaders do that time and time and time again. Bring the right person in, tell them what they needed to, or tell them what the issue was, and then let them go do the job. And more often than not, that comes back with just great results.
Yeah, I love those points and really creating that brain trust, or that trust, right, just flatly within your team, and really valuing the individuals for what they bring to the table. I think that's so key. So thank you for raising that again. It's such great advice. And I think sometimes, like you said, in the leadership role, you feel like you have to do it all, but really learning to empower and train your people if they don't have the skills, and then maximizing those that they do have so that they can find their place and really bring that out and bring success to the program overall. So thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Hey, so since you've moved from the public sector and the Coast Guard to the private sector, what do you feel is your greatest achievement in the industry?
I would have to say one of the things that I'm very, proud of is people don't think of us that often. That may sound weird, but to me, that means we're doing our job. It's like an official in a sporting event. Like if you don't see them when they're doing the job, I think the best thing that we have done is prepare the company to handle these types of events. And you remember, well, people in the Midwest remember the polar vortex that happened, I think, in 2019.
Yeah.
And we had the crisis team got together. This was a very different situation. Negative 50-degree temperatures. There was concerns about people being on the road if they got caught in a ditch, or if there was power outage, things of that nature. And the crisis team then, before COVID, decided we're going to close the building for a day. And that was monumental. That was a huge, one day. Now I look back how naive we were. 1 day versus 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So but they made that decision. It took them a little while. It took some time, and they kind of made a decision. They wanted to bring another person in, and that kind of validated the decision. And I felt that the communication took a little while. It was good. It just took a little while, and it worked. I think that the quarterly meetings we have with our stakeholders, the the exercises that we would do, some of the smaller events that we had. When COVID hit, I don't think my partner and I really did a lot. We just kind of set the playing field, and the crisis team, in my opinion, really learned from that COVID event and applied those lessons. And we were able to, I wouldn't say without a hitch, but we sent probably 95% of our workforce home. Again, things were a little hinky the first couple of months, but it worked. And I think that's what I was most proud of, is that my partner and I really kind of set the playing field, and the crisis team really responded.
Thank you for that. I think all of us have learned a lesson in endurance for the last few years. None of us expected things to go beyond those 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about enterprise business resiliency or business risk. And I think you referenced that earlier, and what you see as the synergies between safety and security today.
Yeah, it's a good question. So when I first got to the company, business resiliency rolled up through our risk area in legal, and safety and security was part of facilities under, I think, enterprise shared services. And that was about a year and a half, and there was a reorganization, and they moved both programs into our employee experience unit, which is part of HR. Yeah. At first, I wasn't sure that was going to, I was like, HR, is that really where we both fit? I am a complete 100% convert. We're employee experience. And the thought being, our job is to, like I said, our mission is to make sure, people in the sites are safe and secure, and they can do their job. And everything that we do really is about to make sure the employee can do what they need to do while being safe. So in October, the vice president that we rolled up for, like I said, created this role that I applied for it and I got. And as a group, we really decided, we're going to merge these two groups. So they're two distinct roles, right? So there's still like business resiliency, and I think our people that will be watching this would agree, is a distinct profession and skill set, as is safety and security. But there are definitely areas that we overlapped. And as we merge, we're now, our official title, or at least what we tell people, is corporate safety and resilience. And the safety and security team felt, we weren't sure if it's corporate security resilience, but they really felt safety was a better overarching word to capture what they did. So we're corporate safety and resilience, but with two kind of divisions, safety and security and business resilience. Just, as a small, example, the BR program is onboarding a new application, and one of the people in safety and security was helping with that. Recently, our company opened up a new meeting facility. It's unbelievable. It really is. And we've had some significant events there. So the two BR folks have been supporting safety and security to make sure that they had enough people to ensure everyone was safe. I was helping check people in, and, I had a radio, and I'm walking around and, just reporting back to our operations center or the ops lead. And even though it's, I manage that program, the safety and security folks are the ones that were running it. But my partner and I, we were there helping out wherever we could. So in the past, we wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't have known. They would have known we needed some help with this application. We wouldn't have known they needed some help with these events. So it really has been that force multiplier, I would say, over the last 8-9 months, and we're continuing to do more. So I'm really excited about where we're going to go as a team.
Thanks for that. What is, we've talked about COVID obviously being a watershed experience for so many of us over the last few years in this space. What do you think has been the biggest lessons learned for your program and for resiliency?
I think it's similar to the thread that we've been having in our conversation this morning is, plans and strategies, exercise procedures are important, but don't be dogmatic. Don't say this is the plan, we're going to stick to it, we're going to break it out, follow it down like a checklist. And, there's a million different sayings, planning I think plans are important, but the planning process is even more important. Getting yourself in that mindset, understanding what the things that you need to do, who you need to talk to. I think again, the company realized that in a pandemic, some of the vendors that we have are also impacted. So there's, some capabilities we've moved to different vendors now.
Yeah.
And when they were having significant issues as well, we had to, there were several really smart people going, we need to start bringing some of that work back, at least temporarily. And to me, that was one of the biggest flex moments, I think, of COVID. The crisis team brought in some folks from our project management office who have that ability to look at a big project and see where to go. And then we worked with them, and they basically canvassed the entire company, said who used to do what, who has availability to do that what, who may need some more training, and created this matrix of these folks can go back and help the claims team. These folks can go back and help our call center, or these folks can process claims or new applications, things of that nature, for a short period of time. But to me, that was a great example of, in the past, we've outsourced. So if something happened to not outsourced, we're just using other vendors to help us. And when they weren't there, again, I think our company just turned on a dime. Everyone was willing to help and doing jobs they hadn't done in 5 or 10 years. Maybe got some quick training for it. But to me, that was a great example in my mind of how our company just realized our plans did not account for an actual pandemic. My partner and I like to joke, we did a pandemic exercise in February of 2019. It really was not a pandemic exercise looking back on it. It was a bad flu outbreak for about a month in one location. It was an epidemic exercise.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. But, we realized hey, we did some of this stuff. It wasn't exactly what we were supposed to do. So how do we make it work? And during that epidemic, our office in Madison was still open and our office in other locations was still open. During an actual pandemic, as we all found out, that's not the case. People are shutting down literally all over the world. And so I think that just don't be dogmatic. Use those plans and those procedures as your starting point, and then let your teams empower your people to say, hey, you know what? When we wrote this, we didn't know what a pandemic was going to be really like, or a fire, or a gas leak, or whatever that is. I still think the plans are valuable to get you in that mindset, but use that plan as you're jumping off.
Thank you so much for that, Jeff. Really great points. So now looking forward, what's motivating you today, and what are you looking to accomplish in the next 6 months to a year?
Yep. So the motivating part is I directly report to a fantastic VP in the employee experience, and we have, in my opinion, it's a phenomenal team. That makes it so much. That makes going to work. Even though three of my team members, the 3 team members, are in Madison, and I work in our Waverly office in Iowa. But it's a great group of people. Our boss gives us the leeway to do what we think is right. He's there for us whenever we need. So that's it's just a great situation to work. And then I'm really excited about, again, we're bringing on a new application. The safety and security folks are updating our access control. They're updating our hardware from a video monitoring standpoint for security. I really do believe that those 2 or 3 things over the next, again, maybe 6 months or so, it's going to allow our corporate safety and resilience team to better help protect our company and therefore help our company service our customers. So I'm excited about that. And again, I've said it before, that synergy between the 2 groups it's really invigorating, and we're really starting to bounce things off. And that's just gotten better since we started, and we're learning new ways to help each other.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Jeff. And I think a lot of us are evaluating, our opportunities going forward right now. So I really wanted to thank you for being on today and appreciate you taking the time. Love to have you come back and talk
Absolutely.
About crisis leadership in the future if you're interested.
Absolutely.
And great. Excellent. Thank you so much.